Hey, third grade, Mrs. Rackaway here, back with another lesson in math for you today. We are going to focus on day 22, where the lesson has to do with choosing the right tool to measure either mass or to measure liquid volume. Before we get into the actual assignment, I want to do just a little bit of discussion with you about what capacity is with liquid volumes and what mass is, because they're similar in that they're units of measure, but they are different in exactly how they measure items. So we're really going to talk about that a lot today. I want to start first with the idea of what liquid volume is. You know what liquid is, right? I mean, if I told you name a liquid, you would say something like water or milk or maybe soda, juice, something like that. You're familiar with what liquid is. But when we talk about liquid volume, we are talking about how much liquid can go into a container of a certain size. So I went to my kitchen and I pulled out this measuring cup. I use this in my kitchen for different recipes, and you can see I have a liquid in it. I have water. Now, the capacity of this container means how much of a liquid could I fit into this glass container before it has reached its capacity and it can hold no more and it begins to spill over the edges. Well, this capacity is measured in lots of different units, and I can see those along the side. I can measure it in cups. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 cups. It also measures it in a smaller unit of measure, which is in milliliters. It goes all the way up to 1,000. Then it also says a liter. In the video you watched yesterday, I talked a lot about the liter as the unit of measure that we'll use a lot when we talk about liquid volume. So to kind of give you perspective on how much a liter is, you can see my measuring cup, pretty good sized, right? So 1 liter is just over 4 cups. The amount of liquid I have in here right now is just 1 cup, but if I measured that out, that exact same amount 4 times, it would get me up to 4 cups. I put a little bit more in and I'm up to 1 liter. Could I fit even 1 more cup, 5 cups in here? No, I would have gone beyond its capacity and it would start to spill over the top of my measuring cup. So when I want to measure how much liquid I have, I look for a device like this to measure liquid volume. In our assignment today, it gives you lots of tools that you might use to measure. So we are going to discuss some of those tools and what they would be used for. I'm going to start with something you probably see in your homes, maybe. This is a scale, the dreaded scale, because sometimes we don't like to step on these. But when I stand on my scale, it measures how much mass I have. Now, mass, that's another big key word that we've been working with in this unit. Mass measures, there's a lot of components to it, and I don't want to confuse you by getting into some higher level thinking just yet, but a lot of times we connect mass to how much weight something has, and the two really are related in a way, and you'll learn more about that as you get into physics and higher grades. But we start to measure the amount of mass an object has, and one unit that we typically use is a gram. Well, what's a gram, Mrs. Rackaway? I'm going to show you it the way I always see little girls do videos, makeup videos online. You see that? That's a paper clip. A paper clip has a mass of about 1 gram, not very much. I can kind of gauge by how heavy it is in my hand and go, okay, well, that's 1 gram. That's not very much. Another unit of measure we use is something called a kilogram, K-I-L-O gram. By putting that little prefix on the front of the word gram, it means 1,000. So suddenly, if I had 1,000 paper clips, I could move up and say, now I'm measuring in kilograms. If I took a big book like this, think maybe like our science books in the classroom, those hard-covered books, right? That would be about 1,000 paper clips, meaning that our textbook would weigh about 1,000 kilograms. I'm sorry, 1,000 grams or 1 kilogram. Now, when you start getting into items that have a lot more mass, like humans, we stop kind of measuring in grams and we move to something like pounds. If I were to step onto this puppy right now, this bathroom scale, it would measure my mass in pounds. So if I want to measure kind of the weight of something, I'm going to use a scale. This is something that should be pretty familiar to all of you. Maybe yours is still in the classroom in your desk. This one belongs to my daughter, Kate. This is a ruler. This ruler is going to give me measurement in inches. It's going to give me measurement in centimeters. I measure length using a ruler. I can measure height using a ruler. I can measure depth using a ruler. Now, when I start getting into really, really big spaces or long lengths or high objects, I'm not going to want to continue to use a ruler like this. Boy, I'd be laying it end to end over and over and doing a lot of adding. So there are other tools that are very similar to the ruler that are also going to measure distance like that. Here's my husband's tape measure, and you can see it just goes on and on and on. So instead of having to flip my ruler over and over and over again to continue with the measurement, I just keep pulling out more length from my tape measure. Okay, very good. Then, sometimes we want to measure, we've been doing a lot of this, we want to measure time. So we use ta-da! Clocks to measure time. As you've been calculating all of your elapsed time, maybe you've been using a clock. We use clocks. We use the time that shows up on our phones. I have this Alexa device right now sitting on my desk, and it has a clock in the corner. We've learned about the different types of clocks, digital and analog. But of course, a clock is going to help us keep track of time. It's a unit of measure. And then finally, on our worksheet today, it shows you what I just described to you a little bit ago with the measuring cup, which is going to measure liquid volume. All right, so we've done all of that work, had that discussion so that we can get to what is the right tool for the job that I'm about to do. This is day 22. This is Tuesday on your slides. The first question it asks us, it says, what's the right tool if I want to find the length of a fish tank? The length of a fish tank. Well, we have to kind of do a process of elimination here. The scale, which is one of the tools, the scale, that measures the amount of mass that an object has. Well, it's not asking me to measure how much the fish tank weighs. So that's not going to be a very good tool for me. Then, well, what about this? A fish tank has water in it. Is this the tool that I need to measure the length of the fish tank? No. If I wanted to measure the capacity of how much water could go into the fish tank, this would be a great tool. Not the question it's asking me, though. What about the clock? Would a clock help me figure out the length of the fish tank? No, not the great tool to use. So, I bet you figured it out already. To measure the length of the fish tank, we are going to want to use our handy-dandy ruler. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write that in. For number 1, the ruler. Number 2 says, what about the height of the fish tank? Well, we can go through all of this again. No, this is going to measure how much liquid can go into the tank. That's for telling time. What about the scale, Mrs. Rackaway? Oh, look, I even have a different type of scale. This is where you can set items on it and see what their mass is or how much they weigh. No, this is not going to measure the height of the fish tank either. So you're going, all right, that sounds an awful lot like the same tool I would use to measure the length. It's going to be the, ta-da! Again, we're going back to the ruler. So for number 2, the height of the fish tank, the correct tool, the ruler. Number 3, the weight of the fish tank. Now, we are being asked to think about how much mass is in the fish tank. The clock isn't going to cut it. We're not doing elapsed time. We're not tracking anything with time at all. Not going to work for this. The ruler, that's used for measuring distance. So that's definitely not going to help us when it comes to the weight of the fish tank. Just by saying the word weight, I bet you've already clued in to exactly which tool you're going to use. If I was going to weigh my fish tank, I would use a scale. So the answer to number 3, how do I measure the weight of the fish tank? Your answer is going to be scale. I hope that helps work you through the lesson, introduces you to some of the tools that we use to measure liquid volume and to measure mass. Have a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow with more instructional videos.